And we are live.
Yay. Let me know when we have some viewers since I am powerless today. Oh my gosh, that feels so weird. I'm such a control freak.
But the good news is,
can't even see me. All you see is the side of my head. Let me move this. Can you see me?
Well, the good news is I'm extremely used to using this, and I think I'll be able to manage. So,
all right, great, because this is really weird.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Am I on the screen now? Can y'all see me? I can see it. Okay, perfect. Okay. Hi guys, this is Maria here with Marabella Portraits as usual. And today we have a special guest, Humberto Garcia. I'm so excited to have him here with us. I actually just started following Humberto like in the last month, and I'm a huge fan of his. He's amazing. He loves to share with you guys. And here's the thing, you guys. Like some of us have this block, like, well, we don't have the money to invest in our businesses, or we don't have the time, et cetera, et cetera. Not saying they're excuses. We all have these like little situations that happen, but sometimes just finding, last episode, what did we talk about? Having that right circle, creating that tribe of people that are giving, that are helping you grow as a person and as a photographer. Well, I feel like Humberto needs to be in your circle. He's amazing. He's super positive. But here's the thing, even if you don't have the money to invest in, let's say, his program, if you listen to his podcast, just shut everything down, pay attention to what he's saying, implement one or two of the strategies that he's using, and you are going to see results. So do that, like take those blinders off, stop saying it's not going to work, and actually put down the computer, stop your editing. Okay, stop the editing part, stop taking pictures, and go and just implement one or two of the strategies that he shares, because he's very open and he shares a lot of information. I mean, I've learned a ton just from listening to him here and there. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about today, since we are going to be discussing marketing and lead nurture, is this, okay? I am famous for being a dieter, okay? I've done every diet, and you guys are going to laugh, but stay with me. The thing about dieting is that all diets work. All diets work until they don't work anymore. And why don't they work? Because we stop following them and we go back to our old habits, right? So the best diet for you is the one that you stick with. It's the same thing with marketing. You go and you listen to this information, and then you go and you implement it for 1 or 2 days or a week. And what happens? Then you go into this other Facebook group, you ask this question, and you say, can you look at my price sheet? Can you look at my email? Is this working for me? And then you get a ton of information from all these different people. And what do? You give up on your marketing diet, your marketing strategy. And then you say, well, that one doesn't work. And I've been trying, and I've been working so hard, and my marketing is just not working, even though I've been listening and doing all these things. No, you have to stick with it. It's just like dieting. It's just like changing these healthy habits. You have to create new marketing habits, and then you have to continue to do them. But with that being said, I want to introduce you to Humberto. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and then he's going to launch into a class for you guys. So welcome, Humberto.
Hey, how are you? Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I actually was born in Mexico. I moved here when I was 1. I joined the Marines at 18. I dropped out of college. I thought I was going to be an engineer. And then to make it a long story short, 10 years later, I'd been to Iraq and Afghanistan a bunch of times. I spent 5 years in special operations. I jumped out of airplanes. I blew things up. It was really fun. And then I got out to be a dad and be a portrait and wedding photographer. So from there, I started a number of educational platforms. I started my own like high-level coaching program where we teach IPS, marketing, and paid advertising along with web development. And through that, I realized, a lot of the things I just, powered through and just didn't even think about because I was almost like too dumb. I had my like dumb Marine hat on where I was just like, oh, I'm not going to question supervisor. I'm just going to do what she said. I'm not going to question Sal Singhad. I'm not going to think too much. And then just working with people in a small town. I lived like in a small shrimping town. And I realized that there was people that are doing photography for like 5, 10, 15 years. And they were telling me nobody in the military would ever pay over $1,000 for portraits.
I hear that a lot even now. Yeah.
Yeah. And no kidding. I was having $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 sales within like 5 months of starting.
Wow.
And I was like, man, this is really easy. Like, just turn on some Google ads, turn on some Facebook ads, and be confident. And I realized, hey, this really, really works. And I
And so
continue to
many
do that.
people, 7 years, 10 years in business, they're still not there. So congrats on that. That's amazing. And, I also want to thank you for being so open and sharing with everybody. Most people don't do that. And you obviously have a gift for it. So thank you for that. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah. So I don't think anybody else wants to hear about my random life story. But yeah, I will just tell you, just going through the Marines made me really realize like I had so much I wanted to do outside of there, and whatever I was going to do, I was going to do as well as I did when I was in the Special Operations Unit. And it's really cool that we have control over our day and we have control over like all of our actions. And the best part is whatever effort we put in and whatever actions we take just creates results for us and for our family. And hopefully today I created a PowerPoint and a diagram that's pretty in detailed and hopefully just motivates you to take one extra step to, just be consistent and just put this top of mind for yourself so that you can stay top of mind for other people.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is very true for all businesses, not just for photography, is the number one rule, which is what most photographers don't want to spend time on, right? We all want to spend time being creative, taking pictures and editing, but that doesn't make us money. Like our final product does not make us money. What makes us money is marketing and sales. Customers are the oxygen of a business. So without customers, you have no oxygen. You can't be alive. So this topic that you're going to cover today is super important. And I'm so excited for you to teach us your ways.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually believe that too. Like if you're not profitable, like I get it, there are hobbyists, but if you're in business and you depend on this, like you're not going to be happy. Your clients aren't going to be happy. And I actually posted on my wall today. I did a post to tag somebody's work that you recognize instantly. Mm-hmm. And I probably got, I don't know, maybe 100 comments, and then just probably a few hundred people were tagged in it. And somebody messaged me and they said, all the people I'm seeing are not the people that make the most money in the industry. And she said she didn't put it publicly because she didn't want anyone to read it.
I understand.
And I said, yeah, that's a really good insight, but you can never skip that. Like I never tell anyone that they could skip their portfolio. And sometimes it's hard that I have to tell people like, look, I wouldn't be confident, putting this out there just yet. And one amazing thing I heard someone say once was, look, if you're not able to charge, they had a bar of $1,000, then you should just kind of put it down and just get really, really good and service people and just make it so like you're just the best at what you do. And you won't even have those blocks about it. And it really made it a lot easier to stop getting rejected at 200, 300. Yeah. And then just jump back in when you were ready to like go big time.
Right. Because then you have that confidence in your own abilities. But so one of the other things that, we said that customers are the oxygen of a business. I have a little note that I write behind. I don't know if you can read. Oh, let me see. There it is. It's really tiny, but I'll tell you guys what it says. So as photographers, we always think that we're the magic and our business does not exist without us. And unfortunately, for most of us, that's true. If we're not here, we have no business. But really the magic, what sustains our business is our clients. Our clients are the stars. They are the magic. They're what keep us profitable and keep us from giving up and continuing to do what we love. So always keep that in mind when you're marketing and when you're creating any kind of nurturing program to get those clients in the door, that it's not about you. So stop making it about you, because it's not. It's about what you can do for them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Which brings me into, do you want me to bring up the presentation right now?
Yes, go ahead. And I'll just be over here and I'll interrupt you periodically with questions.
No, I'm gonna get off of there as well. A lot of the times it's really easy to lose track of how we're nurturing our leads and how we're getting people in to get to know more about us, to like and trust us, and ultimately book us. And the reality is when we have a marketing plan that looks a little bit like this, and I'm going to show it. When we have a marketing plan that looks a little bit like this, and it's just a little bit random, and every day we're just hoping that word of mouth and, a few posts here and there, and we're not consistent with anything, and we don't really know what the customer journey or the people that are like even just learning about us, we have no idea where they're finding us or what they've seen of us or what let's just say their perception is of us. It's really easy to lose track of how effective it is. And what I mean by that is once you start paying for advertising, once we start getting into something that looks like this, we start getting really meticulous because we know how much each Facebook ad costs. We know how much each pay-per-click costs, how much work has gone to SEO, partnerships, social media. And the reason I say that is because a lot of us, we might be getting inquiries. And a lot of times we'll hear a lot of feedback like, hey, they just want to talk about prices. They get on the phone with me or they don't even want to get on the phone. And it's because they don't trust us enough. It's because we don't have enough of a strong bond in order for them to respect us enough as creatives. And today we're going to talk about a few things that we can do to help improve that, because it's not, half the battle is just getting them to inquire, getting their info, and then obviously getting them on the phone. But if we can start and we can nurture the people that are in our surrounding bubble, the people that fill up our pipeline, and let's just say the group of people that have the potential to book us, then we will have much better results. So let's look at that. So we're going to start looking at some critical changes that we can make. And by the way, I'm going to bring it back on so you can talk. It's kind of weird that she's powerless down there. I'm going to make sure that you're not. I'm notifying you that you can come back up.
Yes, I see that. I know, it's so weird. I'm like, I have no control. No,
Yeah.
I was actually just going to take notes and then check on the comments for you while you do your presentation. And then you could just bring me back at the end if you want. I think that would be great.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay.
And look, the biggest thing I found is that most photographers get too busy with what you said, right? Like websites, social media, editing, deliverables. You got to order those prints, those little albums, all those awesome things that, and absolutely that is extremely important. But the thing is that if we're not trying to actively get new clients, as soon as we're done with those clients, we're going to be hearing crickets. We're going to be like, man, I haven't had a session in a long time. And a lot of times people tell me January and February is dead. March is dead. And I'll say, hey, what marketing did you do? What advertising did you do? What SEO, what content, what partnerships you have going?
November and December, you should be in this funnel that's consistently going, taking in the new clients as old clients are coming out. And you should have a referral program as well, so that can keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens, right? Because word of mouth, absolutely. If we're running on word of mouth, that means you have a pretty good product, right? It means people like you. It means people are referring you. That's great. But we're only running at about 25 to 30% efficiency if that's the case, right? And then leads stop coming in, like you said, like, hey, January, February, March, things start to get slow. And of course, I completely understand things are a little bit seasonal, but sometimes we go from 15, 20 sessions, 40 mini sessions in November, and then we go to maybe one portrait in February, and then we start panicking, and then the cycle just starts, getting cyclical, and we just keep going through the same thing. And
that's
revenue.
The peaks and valleys that most photographers have, or also there's abundance of money. It's like feast and famine. So you're like feasting and trying to take care of all these clients, and then you're falling behind. You can't edit. And because you're so busy in the trenches working on that, you're not trying to market to new clients. You're not trying to book new clients. So then once those people are done, you have nothing. And that's when you get into the famine. So how do you take care of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, what happens when you put marketing first? Well, people you start finding that all of a sudden people start messaging you on social media. Your email list grows. You're able to do more creative projects because you feel like you have people actually listen to you. It's like a positive feedback loop. You start getting more engagement on social media. You start getting more inquiries, more phone calls, more form submissions. And then it makes you want to keep doing those things because the things that you were doing got you those things. Right. But then what happens is like we were just talking about, we get a little bit too busy. So we're going to set some rules that we need to follow.
Rules. I live by rules.
Yes, we're going to allocate time for marketing. And the cool thing is when you see the system, number one, most of these things we can set and automate. My rule of thumb in my office is always, if I have to do something more than like twice, I basically have to automate it.
Nice.
So if somebody comes in and they submit my form and I know I need to respond to them, I need to have some sort of instant automation that sends something back to them. All right. Also, I strongly suggest doing some of these things first thing in the morning. I have a rule here in my office that we have to pretend like our day ends 2 or 3 hours later. So if we start at 7, I want them to get done the most important things so that if they had to pick up and leave and go to a doctor's office at 9 a.m., they could leave satisfied that they got the entire, enough work done to impact their business positively.
That was a super productive day. Wow. I love that.
Yeah. And I realized too before, when I had this huge to-do list, the things that I hated to do the most, I would always kind of procrastinate. So I would be like sitting there, like shuffling papers, looking at my taxes, looking at emails over and over and clearing them and my junk. And I realized, I was like, man, I'm avoiding what I know I need to do. Mm-hmm. So when I started taking that mindset, I started realizing like, man, I was being like 10 times more productive. So strongly suggest.
That's great. Yeah.
Spending those first 2 hours in the morning. And we're going to make marketing our number one priority. And like you said, we don't have to do a million things. For some people, it's prospecting on Facebook. For some people, it's, building groups. For some people, it's email, Instagram, social media, like whatever you do really well, like keep doing that. Mm-hmm. If it's paid media, hey, I love it. And same thing with SEO, but we can't stop doing those things.
Right.
All right. And look, my big thing is people book people they know, right? Yes. I've had so many messages where people have messaged me and said, I don't know why this girl's getting more bookings than me. She's not even as good.
I love that answer all the time.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I asked them, I'm like, how many realtors do you know in your city? And they'll say, I don't know. Yeah, my cousin, my friend's friend is one. I know them. So if you had to go find a realtor, would you spend 3 years trying to find the best, perfect, the absolute best one? Or would you just go to the one that you know? You don't necessarily even have to like them. Obviously, if you like and trust them, that's even better. But at the end of the day, if not enough people know about you, it'd be really hard to build a business.
Can we just pause right here and take a breath and take these words in? Because if people don't know who you are, and you might think people know who you are because you're posting every day, but you're not reaching the right people. So how are they going to contact you? That's super important.
Yeah. And look, a lot of the times for like headshot photographers, a lot of times it's not somebody just wrote that they spent $15,000 and they didn't get the return. Oh. It's not always about pouring money into things. Sometimes it's literally just, hey, if you're a headshot photographer, how many new people did you connect with on LinkedIn? How many new DMs did you send on Instagram? How many collabs did you do? How many partnerships did you set up if you were a newborn photographer? And those are all things that, hey, they're free. And I know they're a little bit scary, but the funny thing is I had a case where I had 2 photographers that were working with me. Mm-hmm. One of them, they're both extremely smart. One of them was a dumb Marine like me, right? So one of them, I tell them to go do the same thing. And their task was to basically go prospect on social media, like go make connections with like the most influential people, message them, see if you can't get any shoots just by being interested in them. Mm-hmm. Well, one of them the younger Marine, he went and did it. And he did it terribly. Like I'm talking every day, he literally went and he messaged people extremely awkwardly. And I'm not even kidding. I think he got like 40 headshots out of it because one of the people was like, he represented the base and all the people going through like a career program. Uh-huh. And then he got a bunch of family sessions out of it as well. And they were terrible messages. I would never send them. But he went and did it and he came back and he learned and he was like, okay, I changed this. I'm doing this better. And then the other one came back a week later and I talked to him almost a day apart. He came back and said, I thought about it, but I didn't know exactly what sentence to write or how to respond. So I wanted to map everything out and get it perfect before I did it. And I told him, I said, look, dude, this guy, he went and at least executed and took action. And he's light years ahead of you and knows way more from the experience. So for us not going and doing that email, that partnership, not reaching out to that other business, not reaching out to do outreach for blogs or, collaborations like that.
And what would you call that? I just made a post about that in this group, and it was about fear and fearing the future and fearing the consequences of our decisions. Like you can sit there and plan for hours and hours and just stay there and keep planning, and you can get stuck in inaction. You have to act. you can have a million plans, but if you don't act on them, you're never going to learn. Like, you learn from your failures, you learn from your mistakes. It's better to fumble around. Think like a baby. Babies crawled first. They don't just go off running. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can sit here and wake up every day and get stuck on building the perfect website, building the perfect blog, building the perfect like email campaign. But if you don't implement anything, you'll always be on the sidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. And no kidding. I remember when I first started, I didn't even have like a proper website. I just had a bunch of images up on one. I didn't have anything. But yeah, I think for him, for the Marine, he actually had a fear of failing. He had more of a fear of failing than he had of like the responses he would get.
Yeah.
And at that point, he had messaged me and said, "Hey, I took a job as a lifeguard. This was when we first started working. Like, he took a loan out from his dad and was like, dude, like, I need to start." And it's just been transformative because he actually started taking action. Those are all things he could have done even before. Right. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I think he was just more scared of failing than he was of any negative reaction. And that's a pretty powerful motivator, is failure.
Awesome.
So for me, by the way, I'm going to say the key is email. And you can switch this out for anything, right? For this, I'm going to go through email, and I'm going to show you how you can also do this with instant messenger. You can do this with messenger bots. You can do this with your group. As long as you have somewhere where, no kidding, you can stay in contact regularly, you can keep making touch points and, connect with people on a one-on-one basis. And in obviously email is kind of one-on-one because it goes to their inbox.
So, sorry, we're just going to go in here and ask you a quick question, because a lot of people are not going to understand what you just said. What do you mean touch points? Because it's super important. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, a lot of times people think, okay, so somebody saw my brand, they went on Google, they saw me, and for some reason they didn't love me, they didn't book me, they didn't love me, squeeze me, whatever the case is. It's like, dude, calm down. Like, they just found out about you. Like, what are the chances that someone from your Facebook ad, from your social media posts, that someone is the perfect person for you? They appreciate your work. They know, they trust you enough. It's the perfect time for them to buy it. It's the right price point, like, and it's the right time. Like, right. All those things lining up is pretty hard, especially when you don't have a large not herd of people, but a large tribe of people that are seeing you every day. Right. The chances of all those things lining up and them wanting to book you right there is kind of hard. So that's why having a place to like nurture them, like an email sequence, a messenger bot or a Facebook group, or even your friends list. I tell photographers nowadays, like, your friends list could possibly be the new email list, right? Like you just told me and you met through Facebook, right?
That's what I do too. I actually have gone through and just completely changed my page basically into my business page. And most of my friends are potential clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's people completely building massive businesses from their business page. And I know it's funny because the MLM people do it. But hey, it's the same thing. Just don't be the MLMers.
Yeah.
So look, email is basically free. And by the way, if you don't know this, MailChimp right now has free automations, has free sequences. Literally all they do is, I think they just put like a little MailChimp word at the bottom. We use this anytime somebody's like just getting started with an email list. And it's completely capable of doing everything. If they join your list, if they book, it's actually a really powerful tool. It's a little bit too simple for what I do with so much paid media. But for 99.9% of people that aren't neurotic like me, this works perfectly. And I actually have an email list of like 100,000 people on MailChimp. And it works so well that I haven't even moved it over. So I use this as well. And look, it's inoffensive. It's a really easy way to stay in touch. And by the way, it makes it easier when you have good things to send, like things like knowledge, you have tips, you have things.
Sending our ads every day. Book me, book me, book me.
No, heck no. Look, I normally suggest people should get, and I know this sounds like a lot, 26 to 52 emails from you every year. And if those emails are good, right, they're not just salesy. Like, I only suggest sending like an offer kind of email, like maybe at the beginning of your automation, because obviously they inquired, hey, let's get on the phone. And then maybe, semi-annually. So like, Valentine's Day if you're a boudoir, and then like Black Friday if you're a boudoir, for Mother's Day when you're doing glamour, and towards the holidays, like Thanksgiving when you're doing glamour.
Mhm.
And you want to get people to basically, you want to get them used to opening your emails. So if you keep sending spam, if you keep sending, hey, book me, I have a $9 sale. Hey, book me, I have this. Hey, check out this. It's $20. I mean, that's not the person they're going to like, know, and trust. That's not the curiosity building. That's not the relationship building. I don't even care what that person says because they don't, what have you done for me lately? Right? Instead of bringing them stories, before and afters, videos, interviews of local people in your area, maybe even featuring them, maybe even sending them emails that they can responding to them. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot. So
I want to emphasize what you said, because you just said a very key point here, is that we're building relationships. So it's not just let me sell you something. To me, it's just like if you meet somebody out in the street and you say, hey, I like you, marry me. Like, that's not going to work, right? You have to build that relationship. You have to take them out for coffee. You have to get the conversation going. You have to earn their trust. Ask them out again. Ask them out again. Ask them out again. Now, are we a good fit? Yes, we're a great fit. Let's get married. That's essentially what they're doing. You guys are signing a contract together and you're getting into business together. It's like marriage. They're committing to using you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look, and running email campaigns is fairly easy. I know back in the day, like, you needed somebody to do your HTML, embed some sort of crazy stuff, do API keys. But the cool thing now is, like, with tools like MailChimp, and again, I'm going to suggest MailChimp because it's free and it's the easiest thing to use. You can get started as soon as you get off this. You can basically go sign up for a MailChimp account and hook it up to your Squarespace, hook it up to your WordPress. There's plugins. It's super easy. And of course, there are, Constant Contact, Infusionsoft. I've even seen people that, no kidding, just put them into like an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to suggest you actually automate it a little bit just to make your life easier, especially if you're going to be sending the same things over and over again. Okay, so now is sooner than later. So I'd like to know in the comments, like, how big is your email list right now? How big is your Facebook group? Is there something that you kind of treat like an email list? My
Facebook groups are my email list. I do have an email list on MailChimp, but I don't want to tell you guys the number because it's really sad. My groups are, my client group is over 3,000. I have two groups. One is 2,000 and one is 3. But my email list is only 56 clients. I'm really bad. I just started working on that with MailChimp. But so I've always treated my groups. And then I got to thinking, wow, what's going to happen if Facebook goes down? Like, if Facebook crashes or people just move out of social media, where's my email list going to go? It's going to be completely gone. So I just decided to start, moving my clients over this year actually into an actual email list.
Yeah. I will say, there are things that resemble email lists, like we just said. The other thing is that it's not so much the size of the list. It's basically like the concentration of it. Like, it doesn't matter if you went and ran a contest and just gave away an iPad and you have people that would never be your client anyways and would never buy from you. I'd rather have a super hyper-focused 500 person list. And you'd be so surprised. I met a woman in Australia. She had like 2,000 emails, and it was only from people subscribing to her little exit pop-up intent on her website. And every year when she sent out her one sales, not like a sales email, but kind of like like an action, like to grab from, I call that like a withdrawal. Normally we have deposits and withdrawals. Most of our emails should be deposits to build the trust. And then whenever we do that, hey, ask for something, that's the withdrawal. She would make $20,000 to $30,000 just from that single email blast. She sent like 2 emails over a span of 2 days. So, I like
that, deposits and withdrawals. So we should be depositing more than we're withdrawing. I really like that.
Yeah. So we have some people say 300 to 400, 1,300, 500, email list of 5,600. Whoa. And by the way, here's the next one. So if you have that size email list, how often are you emailing them?
That was for you, Sarah.
Yeah.
How often are you emailing?
So look, I actually had one of my favorite clients right now email me or send me a PM on Facebook today, and she said, and look, she asked me, she said, look, I'm getting a lot of leads on Facebook. She's doing Facebook lead forms. And by the way, if you do something else after this, go read about Facebook lead forms. It basically collects lead information on Facebook. She's getting a lot of those. And she said, look, like, should my booking rate be this much, right? She's been booking quite a few. Her ad's been on for 1 month. And I said, look, this is not a race. You know, they're on an email automation. You're going to notice that people are going to start booking a month or two out, but you also have to keep calling them and texting them. So I think she kind of took that to heart, but she kind of had her reservations. So today she messaged me and we were talking about tasks that she needs to do. I said, hey, you need to go back through scrub your list. Anyone that's opening your emails, we always collect phone numbers for the email list. If you see somebody's open an email, call them. And she called and texted 2 people and she got 2 in-person consults out of it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, look, a lot of times we're just trying to grab more, but we have a handful of things here that we're not even taking care of. So sometimes I have to like kind of like train my clients and be like, look, we're getting greedy because we're like mismanaged. You don't need more people to mismanage. I'd rather you focus on connecting with people instead of being worried about how much is coming through the door.
Right. Exactly.
So she kind of sent me you were right, you know.
I love that.
It's true. There's way more money later than there is like this moment.
Right.
Absolutely. And by the way, part of this lead nurture could be Facebook retargeting. You know, it could be, you know, to even improve it, you could grow both, right? Like, and I'm going to ask you, have you considered growing both? Like you can grow your email list from your group and you can grow your email list or your group from your email list. So you can kind of cross-contaminate them.
Yes, I've actually started working on that recently. So we're going to see. That's actually why I wanted to talk to you, because I think we're talking about the same person. And she actually told me you were helping her. And I was like super excited because after this call, I want to talk to you about you helping me get more leads, because I can only handle about 10 clients a month, which is what we've been having. But now I have hired an associate photographer and an admin assistant. So I'm ready to grow our business and I want to get us to 30 or 40 clients a month. So now we need to get those leads and that higher volume in the door. So I think you can help me with that.
Oh, that is funny. It is the same person. I know.
I know. Because I had that conversation with her prior to about touching points and getting back with them. And she was like, she did have reservations, but it does.
No, yeah. I know. Yeah, I know. But I love when people kind of go out of their box. And my whole thing is I learn things every day. So like, you know, as long as people are always willing to try things, that's my thing. I always say, test it. You don't believe me? Test it, do it, stick to it for 10 days. If it doesn't work, I'll admit, whatever. Maybe it's not your thing. But a lot of
it's a little uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, like we said, most people want sales now, but there's just way more, you know, in the, you know, other than the 1% that need to buy right now, the chances of all those things lining up, right? The timing, the person, you know, the occasion, the availability, the price, all those things. And you'd be surprised. A lot of times there are people, there's no reason to, you know, cut people off. Hey, maybe they can't afford it now. Maybe you are a little bit out of their price point. But hey, that investment of keeping that relationship for 2 years, you'd be surprised. They might hatch later, or they might remember your emails and remember the conversation, because this business is built one shoot at a time, one person at a time. Mm-hmm. And there was a car salesman, the greatest car salesman ever. He had a rule. It was like it was basically I think it was called like the burial rule, or the 1 in 250 rule. And that was that he knew he had to make the most of every single connection, because back in the day, he would sell like 3 cars a day. Every single person he knew had 250 people that would go to their funeral if they died.
Oh, wow.
So he knew that they had that much influence as far as referrals go. So again, just because someone isn't your client doesn't mean that they don't know. And by the way, here's like a pro tip I normally suggest. Anytime you get off the phone, whether somebody books you or not, doesn't matter. I always ask, by the way, Janet, it's been amazing to talk to you. Would you know anyone else who would absolutely love an experience like this? You know, anyone else would be interested in blank, right? Whether it's somebody who inquired about personal branding, maternity, because they're going to know more people like them. And a lot of the times,
a huge sales point. Like, so many photographers are afraid to ask for the referral, and people don't think to offer, oh yeah, I have a friend who does this. Like what you just said, and actually I'm implementing that at the end of our sessions when my clients are sitting in the makeup chair. I'm actually creating these little cards that have 5 little slots and giving them a little free gift if they sign up 5 people with their contact information. I think everybody should have a referral program.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so our strategies hit both. Look, so we need to constantly reach out to like basically fill, it's not just one or the other because you can do both at the same time. Right. And then we also need to constantly stay in touch and stay top of mind. And then through doing that, retargeting ads, whether it's your group and your email, we can definitely do that. And like I said, it's not the person, like it's not the best photographer that wins. Time and time again, it is absolutely not. It's the one that's most well known, right? And the most liked. So, and again, and by the way, it's another thing I should add, and hopefully it's on there. It's the person that made the last contact. I can't stress that enough. So no kidding. And this is for almost anyone. Imagine right now you do a service, because we do services. Some of us do a little bit more like, hey, either it's corporate headshots, personal branding, real estate, or maybe you even do portraits. Like most of the people in here do.
In this group, most of the people are portraits. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if someone goes, they're on your email list and it's spent a year not hearing from you, they might know about you, but somebody else might have gotten them, or somebody else might be messaging them on Facebook, DMing them, might be interacting with them on social media, commenting, liking. And next thing you know, when it comes to, hey, I'd love to have my daughter do something for her quinceañera. Oh, I'd love to have a mother-daughter session. It's probably going to be the person that contacted them with the most recency. So I cannot stress that enough. That's why I said 25 to 52 times a year. And as long as you have good content and you have a good message and you're not just spamming them, it's going to be well received. And you'd be so surprised. There's so many people that email my clients from their, from their email list that'll say, I inquired 5 months ago. I've been reading your email sneakily. I'm in your Facebook group. I'm ready now. I saw what that woman said in her interview. I feel that way too, because that's another thing I left out is sometimes you don't have the perfect message. Mm-hmm. So maybe you were doing something and, your promotion or, your website didn't show something that applied to them. Maybe it wasn't a Hispanic family. Maybe it wasn't someone that resembled them. Maybe it wasn't someone that looked like them, or their story didn't resonate. And next thing you know, just one of your newsletters just clicks with them, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, that's it. That's what I needed. And they might not even know that, but it's like, I've been waiting, I've been knowing, but now you just message me with this and I know I want to. Mm-hmm. So how does this all work? I'm gonna break this down. I don't want to take too much more time. And we talked about it. This is what most photographers look like. We build a website and then we just start posting everywhere, and we get exhausted and we're like, there's no money in photography. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And then when we get a little bit more advanced, then we might get listed on Google. We create our Google My Business. We create our profiles correctly and get a little bit more consistent. But hey, we have a bunch of touch points and then we're never really follow up with anyone. We have no systems for it. So no kidding. I like to look at this, and I can definitely make like a screenshot of this. I definitely like to look at this as, hey, these are all building blocks and assets for us, right? Things like SEO, this is the marketing portion. That's something that doesn't overwhelmingly take over my life, but it's something I just dedicate 2 days to, and then I upkeep, 1 hour every week or 1 hour every 3 weeks, depending on how much you're blogging. Mm-hmm. My partnerships, my social media, obviously that's a few minutes a day. Facebook ads and Google pay-per-click. Like if you're experienced or, you want to dive into that and you're kind of an analytical head, hey, that's something you set up and you kind of tweak every few days. And you don't have to have a huge budget here, especially if you have really, really good work. That's why I always say the better your work is, the cheaper the results are to come by.
Right.
And for the most part, once we get people on our email list, and you can do this a few different ways. You can do it with your contact form, a pop-up. You can do it with a tool like Chatra, which is like a messaging tool. And no kidding, we just put them in automations. So as soon as somebody joins like an audience in MailChimp, super simple, just to not some ideas. Hey, thank you email. Maybe the next one's a blog about everything you need to know about, children's portraits. Hey, all the frequently asked questions, a story or a video about someone. Could be another blog, 6 location ideas, 7 theme ideas, something to keep them interested, curiosity going, so that they're excited when they see your name in their inbox, and you get them used to emailing, to opening your emails. And then of course, obviously these you can take them to your web pages and so on. it looks a lot fancier than it really is. It's just an email with a link. It's an email with a question. It's an email with a button to, or, you know, with your phone number. And then no kidding. I mean, you can, with tools like MailChimp, you can add tags and you can turn off your automations depending on if they've booked you. That way they don't keep getting the same emails, but there's nothing wrong with sending your newsletters if you're not bombarding them with sales material as well. So to me, this is what happens. And by the way, the cool thing about this is that, you know, you add 20 people a week to this. The cool thing is that, yeah, some of them are going to book you immediately, but sometimes a lot of people don't even realize that like these are automated. So like 3 months later, someone will just be like, I can't believe you remembered me and you sent me this email. And you're like, yeah, Barbara, I've really been missing you. Hope to have you in my studio. Let's chat.
That's what makes you feel special. You're like, oh, I got a card from this photographer and I love your work. I mean, nothing makes me happier than when I get a prospect that tells me, I've been following you for years. And when my message resonates with them and they tell me things like, well, I love that you're all about empowering little girls. And I have a little girl and I want her to feel like this. That's like proof enough that I need, like, it's not the constant new people that are coming in. It's all the people that have been following for years. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
No, yeah.
There for a second.
Yeah, no. And look, to me, that again, this could be replaced by a Facebook group. You know, it could be replaced with DMs. It could be replaced with, you know, group posts. All those things add, and all those things add to these touch points of people seeing you. And by the way, when you start combining these and you're sending out 25 emails and then you have maybe a little bit of retargeting ads and you have your Facebook group and your personal, by the way, I actually train photographers too. Anytime somebody engages on your business page, go in and add them as a friend, send them a PM, thank them so much for, you know, ask them about themselves. Hey, are you in the Houston area? You know, tell me more about yourself. Because like I said, all these are built one at a time. So yeah, really cool. But just building your tribe, building your list, and then staying top of mind.
Facebook anyway, and I'm watching you guys and all of the photography groups, and you're sitting there commenting on everything. I'm gonna tell you guys what bugged me today or the last few days. I know you've seen it, Humberto. Everyone is sharing this one meme talking about, I don't charge arms and legs. I just want to have a livable wage. Like, what are you telling your potential clients when you post that? I feel like as a prospect, as a client, that would be a turnoff for me. That would be telling me that, I don't know, I just don't like it. And I've seen so many people, and I know some of you that are on here are guilty of it, but like, no, let's not show that to our clients. I feel like you're already putting up a wall when you do that to people. Yes, there's the people we don't want, but you're also going to turn off the people that you do want to book you, who are fans of your work. That's just my 2 cents on that. How do you feel? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I do think that comes back to mindset, and it's almost like a woe is me. And I tell people all the time, like the biggest mistake people make is thinking that they're the exception. You know, thinking, oh, my city is different. I've heard people say, oh, I'm in San Francisco. People here are so cheap. They rather spend it on blank. I'm like, you're going to talk about 3 million people like they're all one. Each person is an individual human being who appreciates different things. And, you know, when we have that mindset, people are going to treat us like that. You know, when we have that energy and we act like that, and we're almost training people to look at us like that. Yes. And you're right. That's probably going to keep people away with like a 10-foot pole, and people are going to be like, oh, it's extremely desperate. Let me take my business over there, you know? And I think that's also another misconception is people think that money, you know, makes people appreciate photography for some reason. And people will say, oh, you know, my town's poor, so they can't afford it. Right. And I'm like, that's so crazy, because when I was a Marine and I didn't make that much and I was a single dad, like that never came to my mind when I saw by the way, I work with Tara Lesher. When I saw Tara Lesher's work and I messaged her and was going to drive up 8 hours to have a photo taken of my daughter, you know, so to put me in there and say, oh, you know, that Humberto wouldn't be my ideal client, you would instantly be losing me just by stereotyping me, because my psychographics, like what I appreciate and how, you know, what I value is way different than the amount of income at any stage in my life.
Exactly.
And I think
with that because I was also a single mom when I had my first daughter and, single income. And I literally, while I was pregnant, I knew that I wanted to have the most beautiful newborn pictures. And I saved because I knew she wasn't going to be little for long. And I knew I may never have another baby. So I saved, and I spent almost $2,000. For me, that was a lot. That was like 7 years ago as a single mom and not working for 2 months. Like that was a large portion, but I valued it and I did my homework and I called around and I always looked for, it was the quality and it was images that I would connect with. That's what I valued. But in talking about that, everybody seems to think that people only care about price. And the thing is that if that ends up being the only issue your client has, that's because you haven't shown them the value of what you do for them. And that comes from listening to them. So when you're talking to them on the phone, it's not, hey, me, this is what I can do for you. And I used to be the same way. And I'm actually redoing my whole site because it was, I want to photograph you. I want to do this for you. And I thought it was coming off as exciting and stuff. But all I kept hearing when I read it out loud was I. Well, it's not about me. It's about you, my client. And instead of me talking so much, which I have a problem with, obviously, because I'm very extroverted, it's about listening and listening to my client's real pain and what they really want. And then when you're in the sales process or even the marketing process, it's not about leading them and telling them you have to buy this and it's worth this much. It's about standing next to them side by side and saying, this is how I can help you. This is the pain that you're having. This is what you're dealing with. This is how we're going to take care of it. This is what I'm going to create for you because I'm listening to what you want. So start looking at it that way as opposed to I'm selling you something and I hope you buy it. I hope you see the value in what I sell. It's not your pictures, guys. It's not your final product. It's way more than that.
Yeah, and I agree. All that nurturing and all that relationship building, like that could be basically broken by a bad phone call.
Yes.
And then the other thing is the good news about that is being on the phone. And that's why I always tell photographers, like, you got to be on the phone with people. You want to make $3,000 a sale? You want to make $4,000? Pick up the phone. Like, we're not too good to talk to people. And to me, that's the good thing is you're able to bridge the gap. So if you didn't have a 16 email automation, you didn't have all this, all this work to put together all this fancy stuff, which by the way, you can put together a MailChimp for free in a day. Then you get to basically skip that line and it's like hyper connection instantly right there. And that's your chance. So like you said, and if you're making it about yourself and making it about money, then that's a really quick way to burn that bridge as well and get them at the end of the call to just go silent and say, hey, yeah, I got to talk to my husband. Bye.
Everyone's favorite line.
No, yeah, I absolutely love that line. That's definitely the first question everybody asks. Roberta, what do you say when somebody
say that?
Yeah. So I hope, it sounds like, a lot of people are actually building their email list in here. I know it's something we got to do, kind of like we got to floss. And I hope just from seeing these strategies that, hey, it makes it a lot easier to take a step forward and at least jump forward with something as simple as, hey, MailChimp. And I would actually challenge anyone watching this, don't go think about that huge thing I just set up. Just literally go think about setting up one form on your website and putting up one email in the automation. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
One strategy, you guys. That's what I said at the beginning of this call. Implement one strategy after each one of these videos and watch how things change. It's all about taking that first step forward. And I want everybody to know how they can reach you. Humberto, what is your website? What if somebody wants to talk to you about helping them, work on their marketing?
Yeah, it's photographytoprofits.com, which I'll probably just leave it in the comments of this. So photography, TO. And by the way, I'm so relaxed. I do all my, you can reach me on Facebook. You can just add me as a friend. You can send me a message. I'm addicted. I admit it.
I feel like we're spirits there a little bit because I'm the same way. I'm always on Facebook.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a cool thing. It's like, it's such a social world. Like it's probably never been easier. I was thinking about this the other day. It's never been easier to start a photography business. I get that there's a lot of competition, but imagine if you were doing this 40 years ago, like you'd have to really learn. Someone said it today in a joke, like you don't just go to BrandsMart and buy a camera, but not only that, like how would you get your name out there? Like legitimately on Facebook, you can basically meet 100 people a day almost, you can be paid Yeah, it's a lot easier. There's so much education out there. It's so much quicker to learn, and you don't have to wait 6 days to get your images back, and then
Mhm.
edit them, and then have to know that every time you're going to shoot, you're wasting money because you're not wasting, but you're developing film.
Right.
So it's never been an easier time, and I think maybe coming from that mindset just made it easier, when I started. Because a lot of times what I'm hearing now is, oh man, it's oversaturated. It's so hard, so much harder than before. It's not like the good old days. It's like, I don't think
Yeah.
we would have loved the good old days. The good old days were really tough.
I'm
But
going to tell you the good old days. I had no interest in photography because I did not want to hang out in a lab. I did not want to waste money on film. Like, not that it was a waste, but I just had no interest in it. What made me fall in love with photography was Photoshop. And it was the opportunity to be able to take as many pictures as I wanted. I mean, when I first started, I was taking thousands of pictures at a shoot because they were horrible, to get one or two good images or what I thought was good images. So we're kind of in this world of instant gratification, and that goes back to how we feel about marketing too. Is like, we want to go out there and make a post and get a ton of business from it, and that's just not how it works. It's just, again, if you leave with anything from this, it's the lead nurturing, creating relationships, and making people feel like they're being heard and that you're listening to them. With those things, you know delivering your message, either, like you said, Facebook group, email, SEO, blogging, deliver that message and let people feel special and let them feel like they're the stars of your show. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we've been on for about an hour now.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
It was a good talk. Thank you so much for joining us here. Please post as often as you want. I did share a couple of your videos in here too because you are amazing. We really appreciate you taking the time. And yep, post your website in the comments. And thanks, guys.